5K Snipeathon is a public trading journey where I'm going to grow $5,000 of my own money to $10,000 trading currency in the foreign exchange market. This is a completely public and transparent trading journey where I give daily and weekly updates of the progress. If you want to follow and stay up to date on this trading journey, make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and look in the comments to join the Snipers Anonymous broadcast where I update the chat daily on the progress of the account. Shalom, family. Shalom. Welcome to the 20th week of the Snipeathon. This is the weekly Snipeathon update. And without further ado, let's get into the results of last week. So last week we had a starting balance of $4,964.42 and ended the week with $5,009.60, and that was actually from a trade that was placed on Sunday. It led into today, so I just included it in this week's update. So that ended up coming to 3 wins, 2 losses, a total of 5 trades. So that was a 60% win rate. There are no open trades running. There's no open profit or loss. And the net profit so far has been $9.60. And the net profit percentage is 0.19%. So the notes for this week is it is NFP week. And we'll be talking about that in a second. And this week's focus is just going to be protecting the gains. All right. So this week's focus is protecting the gains. Hey, what's going on? Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Khalil. Welcome, Dory. So let's get into the news. Give me a quick second to bring this up. Right. So like I said, the main news release for this week is NFP, but we'll go over some of the early week news. All right, so coming up in 20 minutes, we have RBA for the Australian dollar. That's a red folder news release. But tomorrow, or actually, well, technically tomorrow, but going into tonight's London session, we have a lot of news releases for the euro in between 2 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, so from 2 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the morning, we have a few red folder, a lot of red folder news releases for the euro. So it's going to be very volatile, which I'm not worried about because of where price is currently at. I have my eyes or my target set. I'm not really paying attention to the range that it's in right now, but we'll get into that in a second. Inflation rate, at 8 o'clock, that's going to be very significant, especially at the open of the New York. At 10 a.m., we have a news release for the United States dollar. And then at basically in the evening for the Japan yen at 1950, we have the large manufacturing index. Wednesday, we have the Japan yen consumer confidence. That's going to be at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then again, for the euro from 3 o'clock in the morning until about 5, we have some news releases, unemployment rates. Then for the United States dollar on Wednesday, we have ADP employment change, Fed chair, war speech, manufacturing. For the Australian dollar, that evening they have balance of trade. Thursday, for the euro, unemployment in the morning. And then during the New York, we have non-farm payrolls. So on this Thursday, they're doing non-farm payrolls. And I'm assuming they're not doing it on Friday and doing it on Thursday because of the holiday coming up. So Yeah, on Thursday instead of Friday. On Thursday at 8:30 in the morning, we have non-farm payrolls for the United States dollar. So this is also something to note because it's usually the first Friday. So people are always, ready and prepared on Friday, but it's coming a day early. And that's an important thing to note for this week. So on Thursday, we have non-farm payroll at 8:30 in the morning. All right, let's get into the charts. All right, so looking at the dollar, we've been looking at this for a while now, and we're actually, let me see, this is the one. Okay, we've been looking at this sell zone here. I want to say we've been targeting this since the consolidation started. I mean, we've been following this channel. I want to say back in like February, March, we marked up this sell zone, and price has finally come up to that zone. Price has finally come up to the sell zone. We had a consolidation zone here, which it broke out of, came up to the sell zone, and we're having a rejection at the moment. So what I'm seeing right now for the dollar, this is what I'm assuming is about to happen. We had a rejection, and we have some space, or we have some room imbalance to fill. So I believe we have more room to come down. And I don't believe that the dollar is done retracing. All right. So I don't believe that this reaction here is done. It's been a nice reaction. It's currently pulling back a little bit, but I see it coming down back to at least the top of the consolidation. And possibly even further than that. All right, because we have these levels down here, which is the top of this entire range, right? Which happens to be a little further inside that consolidation zone. So I'm gonna leave this line here. This is a possible area where I see the dollar returning to. Overall, because of what's going on with news, this is the start of a reversal. All right, so we are, I would say, bullish right now. We've created from a low, we've come up and created a high, we've created a higher low, and now we've created a higher high. And on top of that, we have some imbalance that we can feel here, and we also have a high, that could be taken out. So now that we finally reached this sell zone, now that we finally reached this sell zone, now we're looking at higher targets, all right, because I see the dollar going even higher than where it's at. So I'm going to put the eye above the high here, and we're also going to highlight this market open gap right here. All right, so we have a market open gap here from back in April of 2025. That's going to be the first target. Let's pull this across. And then we have this high here. All right, so that's later on down the road. Let's look at what's going on with price now. Let's drop down to lower time frame. All right, so we came up to that sell zone, and we started creating lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows, right? Low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And now we created a higher low that's starting to retrace. Where do I see it selling from? Let's drop to a lower time frame. Here was the market open for the week. Price fell. This could be an intermediate high, and we had a consolidation zone here too. So let's target this market open gap. Let's target this market open gap for a reaction or sell-off. And then of course we never want to ignore the highs. All right, this is where price fell from. This is where it ran up and really fell, and we broke structure here, broke this structure. So I like this area for a sell, and then possibly above this high. So we'll also mark this here. Now, where do I see it coming down to? Clearing these lows for the week. We got some nice imbalance right here that could be filled. First area of reaction, we're just going to say the top of the consolidation zone. All right, so the top of the zone or the top of this orange box is where I would expect some type of reaction. And then where I would expect it to more than likely take off from would be closer to the top of that range that I talked about earlier. So that line that I marked close in this area. See, we have a low here, and then below this low over here to the left, we have imbalance where price broke structure and it never returned, never came back. And so this is a target that I believe they'll come and fill. So with that analysis on the dollar, what would I see or what would we expect from EU? This is a quiz. This is a quiz now. I want to ask you guys, somebody drop in the comments, if I'm expecting tonight, I'm expecting the dollar to head up and possibly sell off from here. What does that mean for EU? If the dollar is we're looking for it to head up to this imbalance and sell from either this imbalance or this sell zone, what should I be looking for? What will I be looking for? What type of setup will I be looking for on EU? Remember, the dollar and EU run opposite of each other. Ms. Allen said for EU to go up. Khalil said to sell off. Kevin said buy limits or buy stops. All right, and the answer is everybody is correct. If I'm expecting the dollar to head up, then I would be expecting EU to sell off, right? Begin in the beginning of the going into the Asian, going into the London. That's the first thing that the euro should do is sell off if I'm expecting the dollar to go up. But if I'm expecting the dollar to go up for it to sell off, then yes, ultimately I'm looking for EU to buy, or I'm looking for possible buying positions on EU. All right, so with that being said, let's head over to EU and see what's going on with it. All right, so let's review what we went over last week. So this is where we were last week. And let me turn on the execution mark so we can go over the trades that I lost and won. All right, so this was the zone that we were. This is where we left off last week on last week's Snipeathon. I was saying that I would like to see price poke down and then come back up, and then that's when I would, um, take a buy, or I was expecting it to sweep and then go up, and I was, saying I wanted to buy up in this area, but it ended up continuing to fall, and I believe here, yep, I entered for a buy here, and I put my stop loss at the bottom of the range, and that was the first loss. And the second loss was I bought at the bottom of the range, and price continued to fall. All right. Now, once price came down here, that was on Wednesday. Once I seen this rebound and I seen this move right here, once I seen this move happen, boom, that was it. Once I seen this happen, I took a buy down here. So I took a buy at the bottom, and I was expecting price to continue up from here. The RSI was like maxed out around this time, and then if we look from a higher time frame, it also was it was in an area after it swept. It pretty much came to a low and created like somewhat of a double bottom. And I just had I had confidence in taking that buy, and so I took a chance on that. Ended up being correct, and I targeted the bottom of the consolidation, and it came up to the consolidation and rejected from the bottom of the consolidation, just like we talked about in the chat. And then again, I took another buy within this consolidation when the market opened on Sunday, because I seen this. I see this pattern a lot where the markets will close on Friday, it'll consolidate, and once it forms a certain pattern, which you can see on the 15-minute, you can see it better on the 15-minute. Once it started to create this pattern going up, I was, pretty confident in taking that as well. So took that buy and bought that up, to the bottom of the consolidation again. So now we're selling off, right? And I would actually, you know what? This might be the first show where we do some live trading, because I see an opportunity to sell. I really like where price is coming up to right now. We have this channel right here that's more than likely about to get taken out. And then we have the top of the consolidation, which with the news releases and this being NFP week, I wouldn't be surprised if they came down and swept these lows, because these are equal lows. So this is liquidity that was left behind at the beginning of the week. They created liquidity, double bottoms. Everybody is probably buying right now. We're still trying to buy, and we came really close to this high, which you would think they would go beyond it, or a lot of people would think they would go beyond it, but it failed and is now starting to sell off. And so I believe that this is the target. Here's the target. This is the magnet that I believe is going to pull price down before tonight. Let's see, 20 pips stop loss. All right, with our bias on the dollar, expecting the dollar to go up. You know, for the sake of live trading, I'm gonna place a um, very low risk trade just to show you guys a live trade. All right, so this will be the first live trade. I think this is a good setup. It'll be a 20 pip stop loss. We want to go. This is a short, so we need to switch over to the shorts account. Okay. We're gonna go with 50 cents per pip. Market. 20 pip take profit. 20 pip stop loss. And so we're gonna risk $10.10 on this, and the possible reward is going to be $10.10. So this is a 1-to-1 ratio. And for, like I said, for the sake of just live trading, let's do it. And that's that. We are in the trade. All right. So in the trade, I'm expecting that to sell off for the rest of the night. And that's that. Let me see. Had to pay a spread to get in, so it changed what the take profit and the stop loss was. All right. Now let's see what's going on with Euro GBP, because I was looking at it earlier and it was really Euro versus the pound has been weak, meaning the Euro is weaker than the pound. So what that means is, with the Euro being weaker than the pound, once or if the Euro goes bullish, dollar goes bearish, Euro goes bullish, I would be more likely, I would like to buy on the pound, which I'll be doing with my funded accounts. Like, I'll still be buying, on with the Snipeathon account, but I think the buys will be better on the pound just because it's been showing strength over the Euro. And so if the dollar starts to weaken, I have more faith in buys on the pound, as far as, the distance of moves and the volatility of the moves, because of the strength that is showing against Euro right now. It's been consolidating for a while. We're within the zone, and now we're at the bottom of that consolidation, hanging out around the bottom of that consolidation, and it's pretty much like ready to break out and fill in this imbalance here. And we have this buy zone marked up from, a while ago. But that's what's going on with the Euro versus the pound. Once the dollar goes bearish, or if it goes bearish, I would like to see some buys on the pound. So if anybody, trades the pound versus the US dollar, look out for the dollar selling off. Watch Euro GBP. If this is weak, that signals strong, really strong buys for the pound versus the dollar. And what I actually see it doing is coming back up to the bottom of this channel that it created. It broke out and I believe is coming back up to tap the bottom of that channel. It's currently in what I believe is a buy zone. Second buy zone is down here. Yep. So same thing with the pound. What I'm feeling about euro in conjunction with the dollar, and I'm expecting the dollar to sell off. Right. All right. So let's look at some of our wild cards. See, the Australian dollar is moving. Australian dollar really sold off last week. So creating lower highs and lower lows. So the Aussie is really weak against the dollar right now. Even with me expecting the dollar to sell off, I think that means consolidation for the Australian dollar because it's so weak against the dollar. I think the dollar selling off just means consolidation for the Australian dollar. I really don't see anything clear, not like in the immediate future. This is kind of hanging. I mean, it could sell off. It could. This is not familiar price action to me. We did have a break below a zone and a sell-off, so this will be the first area that I would suspect a reaction. Yeah, not much going on with the Australian dollar. See, UJ finally took off. I actually got in for a buy on this on the funded account this morning, and let me see. This happened. Like I had my stop loss right below this low. It pretty much took me out, and I was like, I left it alone. But look, look what happened. That's UJ for you. And so I'm pretty sure GJ probably then took off too. Yeah, that's just going up. With a move like that, it's probably about to consolidate again, or just kind of start making those little candles moving up. GJ is still ranging. This could continue up or down. That's some strong bullish movement there. Man, the way the pound versus the Australian dollar is moving, this is really really bullish. See what the RSI is saying. But it's near overbought levels, and we got divergence on the RSI on the 4 hour. So see how we have a high here, but we have a higher high on the actual chart. We have this high, and then we have this high. But when you look on the relative strength index, you have a high and pretty much an equal high. And so that would be considered divergence, because look how that diverges. Usually when you see this, it means that not a reversal, but a reaction is about to happen, a strong reaction. And so more than likely, the pound versus the Australian dollar is exhausted right now and is about to do maybe a pullback. But like this level here that it broke through. Oh yeah, that's a pretty strong reaction. And it may be starting now. All right, let's head over to cryptocurrency. Get an update on what's been going on. Still selling off. XRP is still selling off. All right, so we're approaching one of the levels that I had marked up. I seen it coming to, which was around 95 cents and 83 cents. Remember I said if it drops down to 95, in between 95 and 83 cents, I will start buying again. So we're starting to approach those levels. I'll go ahead and actually make this an alarm. All right, so I got that set so that when XRP drops back down below 95 cents, that's my signal to start buying more. And let's look at what's going on with Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin is still bearish and more than likely headed down for 45,000. And again, this is another one where I said in between 45,000 and 31,000. I don't buy Bitcoin. I don't own any Bitcoin anymore, but that's where I would expect it to buy from, is in between 45,000 and 31,000. And then we have US oil. I don't know if you guys remember, we went over this a couple weeks ago, and during the time that we were talking a lot about the Strait of Hormuz. But I was targeting this market open gap. Remember, I was saying this, the story. I said the story is lining up. You know, they were in peace talks and negotiation, and the price of gas is, you know, easing and falling. And so I said, this is the area that I would target, because I would expect the price of gas to drop, to go down. And so it's come down to this area, and now they're playing around in this area where there happens to be a market open gap. But now they're talking about Um, you know, Iran has a nuclear bomb now from Russia. Russia gave them a nuclear bomb, and it's just it's all over. It's all over the place, and it seems all manufactured to me. But this is where around the area that I would expect, some type of news to come out that would cause oil to increase and gas to go back up. So I'm gonna leave that there. But yeah, we're U.S. oil is currently down in this market open gap, and so I would not be surprised if we hear something in the news that just causes oil to um, go up again. So enjoy lower gas prices while you can. And the top 30 companies in the United States. Again, we made an all-time high on Thursday last week. Made another all-time high. The United States stock market is doing excellent. The economy is great. We are doing well. Next stop is 53,000, more than likely. But this is definitely setting up for a big sell-off. Some type of big sell-off. Something is on the way. Like it's crazy how the stock market can tell you really what's going on before it happens. But this is extremely overbought. Had this big sell-off, and it's just been making higher highs. While the inflation bubble increases, we've been making higher highs. And so, yeah, I would wait on the sell, honestly. Like if I was trading US 30, um, I would wait on the sell-off. I would wait on the sell-off, the real sell-off, the one that you can hold. All right, before we get off of here, let me go check this trade and see how it's doing. Yeah, I like the way that looks. That was a large candle that went up, and now another large candle is forming, headed down. And yeah, hopefully I'll be reporting a take profit hit in the Snipers Anonymous broadcast. But that trade is doing well, and that pretty much that wraps it up for tonight's show. Like I said, the focus this week is maintaining the capital, which is why I wanted to show you guys a live trade, but you see I didn't risk a lot. So that's me protecting capital. That's me protecting capital. If it hits take profit, that's a small win. That's great. But I'm waiting for the higher probable trade setups, which for me would be price hanging down around here and then selling off, or price coming back above these highs and coming to this sell zone. I see a reaction, at least a reaction here. I'm not saying that it'll sell off from here, but I think this is a high probable zone to catch a reaction, in and out type deal. And then we have this high here too to watch out for in this imbalance. But I'm going to be very careful this week and selective of my trades. Right now, I only have one zone where I would take like a higher risk trade, where I would risk more for that trade, and that's this sell zone right here. And that would be a in and out deal. I would place my stop loss above the high, and I'm likely targeting the bottom of this zone, the bottom of this consolidation. So that's it. Until that happens, we got the dollar headed up. We have EU headed down. If I see a nice reaction from anywhere, headed up, depending on how it looks and plays out during the week, maybe I catch a buy up to the sell zone, depending on how the reaction looks. But as of now, I'm waiting on this sell zone, and I'm waiting on this trade to hit and see what happens from here. But either way it goes, I will keep you guys updated. I will post everything in the Snipers Anonymous broadcast, the third floor and the second floor chat. But that wraps it up for tonight's show. As always, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the support. Being here week in and week out. We still at it. We still at it. It's a lot to learn, a lot to do. Everybody have a great rest of the week, great trading week. I will see you in the charts and in the chats. And remember that becoming a master trader isn't about mastering the markets as much as it is about mastering yourself and discipline before profits, faith over everything. Shalom.